Yo, hello there. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst Ofs, the finest worst of lists, the entirety of creation. I'm your host, Chris P. Bacon, and I welcome you to join in on what is sure to be um, an exciting, unrivaled, splendiferous compendium of top 10 worst things. And we've got, I mean, you've joined us at such a special time because today's top 10 worst of list could not be more fulfilling. And of course, I'm speaking of, this is the, we've got, of all the suggestions that we've gotten for top 10 worst of lists, this has been the top vote getter. Top 10 worst random examples of horse hockey. Pardon me for taking my gum out. That's disturbingly disgusting. Sorry about that. I'm having a lot of trouble today, though. I've got to be honest with you, dear fans and friends. I had been doing better health-wise and making some headway with exercise and trying to get this a series of albatrosses from off of my neck, monkeys on my back, various albatrosses and monkeys. Dear God. But the last few days has been bad, real bad. I've had a major league ailment return as bad as I've ever seen it, and I was, trying to come to grips with it today. I don't think I am. I just don't feel like I can do what it takes to heal from this again. It requires so many. Got to go in 2-3 times a week for outpatient services. It's just I'm such a bad way. I think this could be the end of your dear top 10 worst of hosts. I have someone else to turn it over to. But they haven't been returning my phone calls in about 6 years. And so anyway, on that high note, so I was getting ready to do some kind of like exercise to try and, let's keep my. If I stop exercising, there's other maladies that enter into the picture that are very debilitating and off the charts painful. So this one malady that I relapsed with this week prevents me from doing the exercises that are necessary to stave off the symptoms of another much more painful and difficult malady. So I'm getting ready to do that, and all of a sudden I just get hit with this lethargy. I just like, it's weird. Like all of a sudden the back of my neck, it just starts going, and I've been having a lot of spasms. And if so, I probably shouldn't even be doing this really, but I just have, I don't like sitting around really, and I think I'll do this list. Maybe I'll die or something during it, and it'll be like a real memento for all you top 10 worst of list fans. Be like, oh, did you see the one where he died? Be like, no, I was saving that for a 3-day weekend. I wanted to have time to really grok the fullness. So anyway, top 10 worst examples of horse hockey is what I'm doing. So before I can do that, as those of you who are deeply devoted fans know, I have a bit of a checklist I'm obligated to embark upon prior to the embarking upon in general. Number one, I'm nuts. I can't be trusted or relied upon. Plus, I could possibly die in the middle of this. And, really, why would you trust a top 10 worst list of somebody who died trying to deliver it? Well, I used to really love this work that he was doing with top 10 worst list. It was really spectacular and such a commitment to integrity. But then he died during the middle of one. And now I feel not quite as a high level of confidence that I used to in the emotional honesty and intellectual so that's not going to happen. And then I can't be trusted or relied upon because of things with the thing. And it's not like I'm really crazy, in terms of like what most people define as crazy in today's society, which is, I think the bar is set really low. Be honest with you. But I think it's just sort of like people have become so conventional and brainwashed by our captors, and they've really upped their game in terms of the social engineering side of life in general, and our disgraceful, lost society. Because there's just really nothing worth getting happy about. Nothing worth trusting in, nothing worth supporting. It's like they've created, it started to happen in music, where they started compartmentalizing and segmenting society into rigidly defined subgroupings. So I originally had rock, and then you had, I think the first one was maybe garage rock, and psychedelic rock sort of started emerging. 13th Floor Elevators and Rainy Day Mushroom Pillow. And then you had like acid rock with Hendrix, and then you had, the tail end of the 60s, the beginning of metal with the Sabbaths and the Zeppelins and the I don't know who else was doing metal back in those days. Archer Daniels Midland. You had stuff going on. I know it was going on. Deep Purple came in there somewhere. I don't remember. Deep Purple Mach 1. And then there was Deep Purple. How did I get here? I'd really like to see like one of those etymological trees of dissecting how it was that I arrived at talking about the early days of... Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm having a bad time. Please be patient with me, or don't be patient. Go find something else. Click. You don't want to see somebody in desperate straits. I have the dandruff problems. You hear like this, you get dandruff every 30 seconds. It's like, watching one of those Rankin Bass, the one where the Burl Ives is the snowman guy. Which one was that? That's what it's like walking around with hair like this all the time. Dry. I can't even begin to tell you how dry. So anyway, everybody starts competent in the singer-songwriters, and then you gotta skip forward, and you get the segment start, and then you get the punk rock, and then you get the prog rock, and then you get the jazz fusion, and then you get the prog fusion, and the prog metal, and then British new metal, and you get the emo, and you get the ambient music. Right, you know. Devo, what segment does Devo fall into? Punk, I guess. New wave, you get. Then the hip hops come around with the Sugar Hill gangs and whatnot, and all that good stuff, and then that kind of segments again into hip hop and gangster rap and and then there's, it all just becomes so compartmentalized. Where you have, and then people become fractious. There's no more groups. There used to be able to, back in the day, let's go back a ways. Excuse me if I might not survive the description of the back in the day sidebar here. Back in the day, well, people used to go to movie theaters. People used to sing together in movie theaters. So people would go to movie theaters and they'd have, sometimes an organist, and sometimes they just had they play some music on and have the bouncing ball on the screen with all the lyrics from the songs. And then people would sing together on songs that everybody knew. Must be jelly because jam don't shake like that. Must be jelly because jam don't shake like that. Everybody knew that song. I only know the first line. And it could be, songs like, she just loves my big 10-inch record of the favorite blues. So like that. But people would sit there in a movie theater waiting in between their newsreels and their cartoon shorts, their Bermuda shorts. They'd sit around and sing those songs together. But, if they had that, and that was a really wonderful thing. People were all singing together for no other reason than to just have a nice little time. No big whoop. And yet, if they did that again today, what would people sing together? Nobody knows what the other hand is doing. Everything's so compartmentalized. And people have no way of having widespread shared experiences together. And that's a shame. That segments society, and that's part of what they intended to do. To the point now where they've translated into a political, politically relevant division amongst people, because it used to be that they could just, these games that these jerk-offs on the top of the food chain would play would be just to divide us between right and left, and that would be enough to conquer us. That's all it took. It's just, right-wingers hating left-wingers, left-wingers looking down on white right-wingers. And that was enough to keep people occupied and diverted from attacking or defending themselves against their true oppressors, the haves. While being have-nots would be the operative balance of that perspective. And but it's not. I don't know if it became uh, if that large scale bilateral division no longer was effective. If it started to have diminishing returns, and people were like, "Oh, why would I do this thing that I've got that's not paying dividends the way it used to?" It's like people who do crack cocaine. You take your first hit and you're like, "Whoa, I knew man Bojangles and he danced for me." And then you started taking 3 or 4 hits of it and you're just like, get this weak ass shiznaz out my grill. And then all of a sudden you got to step it up. You got to go to super crack, which is coke and meth and shots of Drambuie all at once, just speedballing them all. And then you're like, that's more like it. That takes me back to my first crack buzz. But it's just never enough, you know. It's the same thing, I think, with our overlords. That they used to divide us between just simply between right and left, and it was like, you know, bada bing. You get that, you know, phantasmagorical buzzaroni. But it's just, you know, it's like everything else. It's the law of diminishing returns. And what are you going to do about it? You just got to consume more. I think that's what happened politically with the social engineering process, the third-party outsourced propaganda ministry that we lovingly refer to as the mainstream media. And they started to get the idea off of music where everything was so compartmentalized so that you can't really have a top, 10 hit that everybody knows anymore. And you can't sing together at the frickin' movie theater anymore because nobody knows the same songs. It'd be great to get in the movie theater, like or some, rated PG-13 or something like that, stupid-ass movie, and they start singing white-ass pussy in there. Wouldn't that be funny? Anyway, so they got this thing where they got it, and then so now they carve up the right into like the traditional Reagan Republicans and the MAGA Republicans and the alt-right ultra-nationalist Republicans and the former professional baseball left-hand pitchers. And then the left, on the left, they got, your old school, like, people like me who used to be like, it's just like, let's be a little, tolerant of everybody, is the open, giant umbrella types of left-wingers and liberals and stuff, where it's, try to make life a little bit easier for people who are having a tough go of it. And then you divided that into, like, now you got your alt-left people who are like, I don't want to be bothered with anybody who doesn't refer to me with the proper pronouns and doesn't dead name my doesn't dead name anybody and doesn't have to do any I don't even know what the frickin' whatever it is. Plenty of people, like think it was marching stuff. But anyways, what the point is, sorry, I'm just so tired, so out of it. I don't know what happened to me. It's just, things are going along okay. Then something bingo. It was just like all of a sudden bingo. Maybe I probably shouldn't be doing this, but the thing is that I just can't help myself. This could be the last of the it's gotten so bad. So So anyway, you got these people who are doing this thing, and they're subdividing us into points to the point where there's just no way. There's no way anybody could collaborate enough to be able to. I'm not even talking about making progress towards creating a world that's livable for human beings and inclusive and emotionally available. I'm talking about people can't even defend themselves against the wide array of attacks that are being perpetrated against the human race. And it's at the point now where, they are just, any minute now, these AI robots are going to wipe us out. It's is this the one, the Bull Dink one, today's top 10 worst of lists? And I got to take a look here. Thingy, looking. So, no. There isn't anything, but, the 2025 all-time record was set for the amount of closures of businesses. And that's before the AI is really kind of finding its footing, which is just starting to happen now. And they got all these people, like all these various different things that you think would be doing good, like Amazons and delivery networks and stuff like that. I always want to know, is the delivery, like having everybody's things delivered individually to them, one piece at a time, is that more or less energy efficient than the old system of delivering it to large shopping areas like strip malls and regular shopping malls that we used to have? And if so, is part of all of that they're doing just, by having like things like super simple, like free returns and stuff like that, a means of like tempting us to give ourselves over to destroying all of physical retail and doing everything online now? Is it part of effort to try and sell a lot more cardboard boxes and oil to deliver all those cardboard boxes? Because if it is, who makes, what unique company is positioned to make money off of both oil and cardboard is the Koch brothers. And those guys are as despicable as it gets. And they bought out freaking Time Life and Newsweek and stuff. So don't forget to make sure that you remember whenever you're reading Time Life or Newsweek that you're reading a propaganda created by some of the worst malevolent psychopaths in the history of psychopaths. And these Koch brother guys, whew, bad news, buddy. Uh-oh. All right, so, you gotta really kind of, it's another thing to warn you about here on what could be my final episode, is that how many people remember when they're looking at stuff, what the source of the information is. It's easy with Fox and everything like that, but it's not always as easy with all these Newsmaxes and Sinclair medias and stuff like that to know who these people really are. We need a system in place that allows us to be able to identify the political leanings of the various different things that we see in our daily lives. And we should have that for shopping, like an app that shows us in real time when we're shopping so that we can make choices between brands of things, where their political leanings are and how they match up with our own political affiliations. And we should also have one for all media consumption. You can go through an aggregate news site and whatnot, and you see all these things. I can do them in 2 seconds here. You think I can't? I can. I got, right here, I got an aggregate news site right in front of me, okay? And I got a story by uh, a company called The World. Who's The World? Who runs The World? Uh, they got one from Money Metals Exchange, Watch Mojo, The Street, Irish Star, Moneywise, uh, MEAWW. What's Meow? And it's, Inc., Cinema Blend, Entertainment Weekly, and, that one's kind of recognizable a little bit. Men's Journal, Bam Smack Pow, Bloomberg, Ross Simmons, Daily Beasts is kind of recognizable. Real Clear Politics. These are all companies that are publishing these individual articles. Now, it's real important to know because everyone's so stupid at this juncture, reading it on average at a fifth grade level, and many times already kind of replacing ideology for actual objective truth and knowledge, that to have them blindly going around seeing these stories that they interpret to be actual news. What is Black Enterprise? What is, do we know that the Wall Street Journal is owned by Rupert Murdoch? Do we know that the LA Times is owned by some billionaire a-hole? Do we know that Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos? What's the big lead? What's the, do we know that the Associated Press was highly engaged with Nazi Germany back in the day? What's the Washington Examiner? What's Hello US? What's Mirror? What are these, AFP, I guess, maybe this. What are these, Daily Express, CBS? Who are they now that they're owned by this crackpot maniac billionaire Larry Ellison? David Wu Unbound. And I'm just scrolling here. Fiction Horizon, The Lists, the Raleigh News and Observer, Tag 24 News, Newser. And this is just me just scanning down a list of random articles that are posted. And we have Navy Media, Yard Barker, Muo, M-U-O, Neil McCoy Ward, Loudwire, Zapzy, Parade Magazine. Parade Magazine we've heard of, but who the hell knows who owns Parade Magazine? Who publishes it? Who edits it? Amy Blythe's Show, The Wrap, Deadline, Collider, Insider, Netflix Junkie, Scared of, Bar Charts, The Hill, Looper. All these stories that on this. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just scrolling down and reading off aggregate news site. There's no way we can know any of this stuff. We need to have all of these rated with a defined numeric system would probably be best, where the higher number is more conservative, the lower number is more liberal. So we have an idea of who these people really are. Do we not deserve that? How could we possibly know? What did I do? 30 different names through a minute and a half, 2 minutes worth of scrolling? I don't know who any of these people are, and even the ones that I do identify, I don't know who owns them now. Part of some big, huge conglomerate or something like that? Jesus Christ. Why are we supposed to have to go through all this and live through this? Lord, why have you disposed of us like yesterday's garbage? And made us fall victim to these malevolent pigs, monstrous, misanthropic jerk-off. Number 2 of the things on my checklist. I am not partisan. I hate everyone and equally everything. Just so. I don't want to be like that. I am a fighter, not a lover, though. I will be honest. That I think a lot of people take it too easy on this thing. Like what was that lady's name? Mavis Staples, I think it was, came out with a song like you're great, you deserve it. It's raucous and high energy. But fact is that nobody deserves anything anymore. Nothing. People take these, I'm going to have a recreational pet, without any consideration for how much it's adding to the nightmare of landfills, wastefulness of food and energy and stuff that we don't have time for it right now. We don't deserve it. You haven't paid the dues. You haven't earned the bonus, the extra treat. You just went straight to the treats. You become so pampered and so self-absorbed over so many years of having it, materialistic proclivities in our society at large. And just give yourselves over to, I'm going to get, like the NFL package. I'm going to get to see every NFL game. Nobody deserves to see every NFL game. Nobody deserves to see a $500 million freaking movie. We're spending $500 million on making and promoting a movie, and we go to it and we're like, oh, that's pretty good, I guess. Nobody deserves to have a $500 million movie to watch. It's a freaking hate crime. We need to stop messing around with all this building. A movie that was made for $500 with a bunch of friends having a good time is going to be just as relevant and important and entertaining as a $500 million a piece of CGI weaponized garbage. Or could be. And we're dehumanizing ourselves and all this stuff, all this Pixar's and the Avengers and all the Star Wars's and stuff. They're all designed specifically to have us pay for the weaponization of CGI so that they can create these deep fakes and immerse us in these sort of matrices where we don't even know what the reality is of the world around us. I've seen, it's like an explosion of it since the Iran war started to hit, where people couldn't possibly even know what the hell they're looking at online. There's so much bullink and what do they call it now, slop, and so that nobody could possibly figure out if it's for real or not. I have to look up 10 different things just to make my way through the lies and the garbage and the so great. So now I'm having respiratory problems here, so that's good. Wow. I'm sorry, I gotta take 5 here. Maybe partying will help. Hey, you didn't think I knew anything, did you? Frickin' Minutemen. D-Boon. So, I'm not going to do this partisan thing anymore because it's bull dank. You're giving yourselves up to the pathetic overlords giving yourselves over to hatred. I don't care what you do anymore. Jesus Christ, just destroy yourselves already and get it over with. If you want it so bad, just start, just sitting around. Oh. Crap. All right, so here comes this list here. Crack identical channel boards. I got this list is put together by a team of former hog callers and pie eating contest runners up who gather together with me and hang out in front of PJ Clark's restaurant and take copious doses of snake venom mixed with lemon drop moonshine to come up with these lists. And before we get going, wow, we've got another fabulous sponsor, which is always the funniest part of this. Oh my God, I'm so tired. Fake commercials. The Man with the Golden Diaper, the newest James Bond flick. You don't want to miss it. The Count of Full Monte Cristo. Or the Count of Monte Cristo, depending on what your kink is. Remission Impossible. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise gets a virulent melanoma at 2.5 Mennonites from the producers of 2.5 Men. Horton Hears Honey Boo Boo. Always a good time. Midnight Express, when your hash absolutely needs to be there the next day. District 9 Inch Nails from producers of District 9. Oh, God, have you had enough fake commercials yet? I have. All right, so let's get down to the business here. The business of doing business, which is a thing. So fun. Top 10 worst random examples of horse hockey. Number 10. Black Sabbath and Kiss using Nazi symbol SS Gestapo logos in their logos. Now, I've done other lists where we talk about this type of stuff that everybody's so excited about that they can't even... They can plot. And, Sabbath does music that, I don't know, at some point, like, music went from being sort of expressions of high-minded, egalitarian community and energy and sharing and aspiring and overcoming grief, anguish, through the joy of music and the act of feeling the vibe of music as it increases the kinetic pulsations in your condition. And then all of a sudden it started to go into like this dark place where all of a sudden it's like all these satanic people are like doing this music and people are just like totally down, like, oh yeah, so let's, like praise Satan and all that thing. It started with the Stones and then migrated to Black Sabbath and then Zeppelin and all kinds of metal stuff that's kind of intertwined with Satanism and evil. And I just I'm not down for it, man. I mean, like people get off on it or whatever, and maybe it's not as much as what it obviously seems to be in praise of or aspiring towards. But if people want to go down that road, it's their choice. If people want to live out their lives and as an expression of and tribute to Satan and hell or whatever, I don't know, evil. They think that's fun and cool and whatever. That's on them. It's up to them. I don't care. But the fact is that Sabbath and Kiss, for me personally, crossed the line when they decided to use that SS, those S's that are shaped like this, or like, I don't know. Wait, am I doing it right for you guys? So if it's for me, it'd be this. So for you, it'd be S would look like that. I don't know. Oh, there we go. S, I think. I don't know. So but you know what I'm talking about? In Sabbath, they've got that S, and then in Kiss, the last two S's in Kiss. It's the symbol for the freaking Gestapo. Okay? It's not, I mean, what is that? Is that supposed to be cool? Is that supposed to be like, why are people, like rock people, devoted to that? Why do people, like, think that that's some cool badge of honor? If you supporting that type of stuff, it's horrific. I'm sorry. And Black Sabbath's got all the cool riffs in the world, and they invented metal, and metal's fun music. When it's done right, done well, and Iron Maiden and all kind of good stuff. But the fact is that I can't condone it. I think that Black Sabbath people, the remaining ones, should be frozen in carbonite, and just made to show what their glorification of the Gestapo really means to people who had to suffer at the hands of that. I mean, and it's whittled away clearly as we see the immense rise of hatred in our society, anti-Semitism, and hatred in general, and devotion to Nazism, and all kinds of horrid things that are just on the rise throughout our society. It's in large part because of these cultural mechanisms that have validated evil and the horrific nature of these bloodthirsty sociopaths for decades in our society, and go on and on about it. And it's not just simply the use of the Gestapo symbols in these bands, but you have all kinds of anti-Semitic characters in our cultural mechanisms, like these. I mean, these South Park guys are just, full on Nazi sympathizers. The Cartman character is so far beyond anything that's funny or glib or social satire or anything like that. It's pure hate speech, and I'm sorry. I don't think I'm being too sensitive about it. It's been decades and decades where they've had this guy spout off, your Jew gold and, one after another on every single show of these toxic expressions. And it sinks in. And people don't have the educational types of experiences and the support systems of having, really tight relationships with their families and parents, grandparents who might have seen some of the horrors of the reality of what those things are in a stealthful way, excusing, validating, promoting. They don't know. I saw pictures that my grandfather took when he served in the U.S. Army and liberated the camps. He took pictures. I own the camera that he took those pictures with. And those pictures, I mean, piles of naked, emasculated, emaciated bodies sitting there. It's just, life cannot possibly get more horrifying than what was going on there. And you see, the fact that, South Park people, if you look at especially the movie that they did with the puppets, where they go after liberals left and right and just tear them to shreds. These guys are malevolent. These guys are hardcore right-wingers beyond anything that the Nazis ever had in their own propaganda ministries. So far beyond Goebbels that nobody, they're not even the same league. And then you have Mort Goldman and Family Guy. Then you have Brian the dog, who's the only liberal character, the only political character in that show. And they show him as a dummy and as a hypocrite all the time. And these are messages that they're infusing us with all the time that are making us. And there's, what's that show that they did? The BoJack Horseman did another animated show like Live, Life, Love or something like that, which shows a bunch of Jewish people acting like despicable. I mean, absolutely stereotypical. I mean, it's like... it is like a full-on Nazi decided to create a TV show to make people hate Jews as much as they possibly can. And I don't mean to be all Jew-centric or nothing like that in here. I'm just pointing out the fact that, that there's so many aspects of our society where our culture is being used to indoctrinate us in a very militant way. And in this BoJack Horseman guy... TV show, they have a scene, and I couldn't watch hardly any of it, but they had a scene where the brother and the sister are talking about, the brother donating sperm for the sister who is a lesbian to have their baby. And now they're not talking about it in specific ways where they're showing where it's incest. But number one, it is incest. It's, the reason why they didn't have that incest is frowned upon to begin with is because of people having flipper babies and stuff. So but they don't talk to it. They don't contextually frame it like a brother and a sister are creating a baby together, but it shows it like that. And it's like, it's a depiction of Jewish people, sort of like in a mongrel comparison where, look at these Jews are having brother and sister having an incest baby. Now, it would be done with artificial insemination, but that doesn't really even matter. Because the point of the reason why people weren't supposed to have sex with their relatives to begin with was because, way back, was because they wound up with a lot of deformed problem babies. And it's like everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, there's stuff. There was a movie called Bad Shabbos. And I'm not like super fixated on these types of things. Trust me. It's just so widespread that you can't avoid seeing this stuff. And it's a bunch of Jews get together for a Shabbos dinner, and they're supposed to have some relatives come over and stuff. and they wind up killing a guy with a diuretic or some kind of something because he's super obnoxious, and they give him a bunch of diarrhea medicine or something, and he dies, and then they're covering it up, and they're acting like total scumbags. Like, I mean, it can't be unrelated. There's just too much of it out there, and it's all going in the same direction of reinforcing stereotypically negative images of Judaism and Jews. And look, it's the same thing is happening. If I don't have really time to go into it right now, but I've done this on other episodes and look to be able to get more into it in another episode when I've got it on my list. But the fact is that they're doing a lot of the same things to black people. Look, one after another. How many black movie stars, male black movie stars, have been emasculated by putting them in dresses and showing them in drag as one of their main characters. It happens a lot. It started with, I think, to my recollection, Flip Wilson with Geraldine. And then you have later on, you've got, it becomes much more prevalent where you have just about, Eddie Murphy, obviously, over and over again. Tyler Perry, obviously, Martin Lawrence. It just seems like an awful lot, right? And then, you do get, Robin Williams does the one-off with Mrs. Doubtfire, and you get Dustin Hoffman does the one-off with Tootsie and stuff like that. But you don't have Big Mama's House 2 and 3 with Tootsie. And you don't have, Eddie Murphy's relentless cross-dressing escapades in his multi-character incarnation movies. And you don't have, an endless parade of Tyler Perry dressing in drag. And, I think, I don't know, these movies are finding their way in terms of box office and earnings and stuff like that, clearly. But it just seems like there's, again, it's an unavoidable theme. And did you get all kinds of, and then they won't let black heroes win over white villains in a lot of these movies. Like, it seems real obvious to me in the original Black Panther movie, where they had Black Panther going up against Killmonger. And Killmonger is a guy who started off with a lot of high-minded ideals and became corrupted about at some point by becoming psychotic over the level of injustice in the world, so they have a black villain. So they'll have Black Panther. They'll, give in to the fact that they need some level of diversity in their hero offerings before people start to realize, but they won't have a black hero winning over a white villain. And it happened again. And Jonathan Majors, that preemptive villain arc that they had with him as King, I think is. So much injustice and so much indoctrination through this third-party outsource ministry that we don't even know exists, because it seems to be just like this, organic industry that's operating independent of the power apparatus, but it's not. Number 9 of the top 10 worst random examples of horse hockey. Tea, like you drink tea, like have a cup of tea. Let's have a little cup of tea. Well, shan't we have a cup of tea? Tea isn't tea. It's tea juice. Okay? Like, when you have a cup of tea, it's not a cup of tea. You can't drink tea. Excuse me, all leafy and sticky and gross. Oh, God. Oh, So much pain. Ah. It's tea juice. Get over yourselves. Preconceived notions. Jesus Christ. Number 8, the top 10 worst random examples of horse hockey. Replace Straits of Hormuz with Rachel Brosnahan's thigh gap. Now, I don't know how many of you know Rachel Brosnahan, but she's the new Lois Lane on the new Superman series. I don't know. I didn't see that movie. But I don't know if you've ever seen the other show that she does, Thigh Gap there. Dear God. It's like, Evel Knievel. If Rachel Brosnahan would have been alive back in the 70s, Evel Knievel would have for sure used their rocket car instead of Snake River, would have used to jump Rachel Brosnahan's thigh gap. Is that rude? I mean, is it wrong to talk about people's thigh gaps in ways? The things of the physical nature? I saw an article where a movie director told this actress to hold in her stomach during a scene. And the article was portrayed like the worst crime against humanity that's ever been. So I might have lost it. I might have lost touch. I don't mean to be rude or abusive. I do, however, feel that we've given ourselves over to a lot of hypersensitivity that makes us seem like a bunch of tweaked out, nauseating, self-aggrandizing, petty, infantile morons. Like, get over yourselves. I mean, again, 9 million people dying from starvation-related causes every year, most of whom are children, most of whom are dying in their parents' arms. And we spend that much on recreational pets to feed our recreational pets. It's the same amount of money, ironically, that it would take to feed the world. And so 9 million people have to die every year. Every year. That's 90 million people over the last 10 years. Die from starvation or other causes. We throw out 30% of the food that we create for food. We give out the same amount of food that would save those people's lives, those children, parents never have to experience that. If we scale back on, recreational pets for a while, until this world can support the humans and have everybody housed, everybody fed, and everybody free from the oppression of malignant political messianic jerkos and stuff. Maybe we not reward ourselves, with all the sweatshops, child labor all throughout the world that feeds our endless capacity for materialistic indulgence. Number 7, intentional limited parking designed to be less than needed. It's like, they know how many people have cars in any particular city or anything like that. Why aren't they accommodating that with enough parking? Why was it somebody in Chicago thought that it was more important to accommodate bicycles who pay nothing for licensing or anything like that, to have them have concrete barricades built, and who knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars they spend on it to build it and to maintain it on an ongoing basis, when only 1% of the people in the city even own a bicycle, and not accommodate, making life safer and easier to operate a car, or 99% of people, or just not spend anything, But certainly, I mean, there's the part of what they need to do to feed their system is to be able to write a ton of tickets. That's part of what they have to do in order to be able to keep all these patronage things and all the things that go into the democratic machine types of situations flowing. And I'm not saying that as a condemnation of lefty politics. I'm saying it as a condemnation of the power apparatus. Because I don't believe that lefties are true lefties. I think that they act in ways that show utter, total devotion to rich people. Lefties, let's be clear, the true lefties of this world have done things to assist in the representation and advancement of rights for the working class and the blue-collar types and the small business owners and all the various different people who are put upon by the machinations of the pathological overlords and their billionaires and all their lapdogs and their military-industrial complexes, simplexes. Number 6 of the top 10 worst random examples of horse hockey. Why is Ted Nugent's song Cat Scratch Fever in the movie Minions: The Rise of Gru? Minions 2, the sequel to the original Minions movie. Why do they have a Ted Nugent song as part of the soundtrack? Can somebody explain that to me? That's got to be worth, a movie that big has got to be worth at least, $500,000 easy for Ted Nugent. And why is anybody, it's only in there briefly. You can barely even recognize it. It's almost like, 10 seconds maybe or something. It's like somebody snuck that in there for a reason. There was somebody out there who wanted to let Ted Nugent wet his beak. And it's, I don't know why why somebody would say that it's important that, some mollycoddled actress has a director asking her to hold her breath during a scene or hold in her stomach during a scene. And that's a worse example of hateful treatment of people than having giving Ted Nugent $500,000 for having a 10-second clip of Cat Scratch Fever. At least it wasn't Wang Dang Sweet Poontang, which would have added another. But still, Cat Scratch Fever isn't exactly a kid-friendly song for, like the Minions crowd, the 6 and 7-year-olds or whoever the hell is watching that stuff. I just don't get it. It seems like the priorities are so out of whack. And I'm probably way out there and, maybe I'm the problem. Trust me. Certainly in my case, I couldn't possibly last much longer. But my generation's out the door any minute now. And so you'll have all your hissy fits about asking an actress to hold their stomach in for a scene for whatever the hell reason they want to do it. And you can, it can blow your minds and blow up the internet or whatever the hell. You'll have that forever, or however much longer the human beings will be allowed to exist. Good riddance to you as far as I'm concerned. None of y'all deserve nothing the way you're acting. Number 5 of the top 10 worst random examples of horse hockey. Fast and Furious is inspiring some street takeovers. Fast and Furious is really, if we're talking honestly, is an infomercial for muscle cars. And they found a way for people to just like waste their freaking lives away on this stuff because muscle cars help develop engines and nitrous and all that kind of stuff is all part of the military industrial complex. That's why we get stuff like this. And you don't get stuff that's sort of like, a paper airplane flying contest or something like that. They're doing movies about muscle cars to sell muscle cars, and the selling of muscle cars helps develop high-performance engines for the military, and it saves them money and not having to pay for it so that they have that ability to just be able to take whatever engines that they've made to satisfy the demand on the private sector, and they just transfer it over to the military applications. Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, can you not see this? Are you like walking your way through life and going like, Fast and Furious is like cool, man. It's all about family stuff and about racing and street takeover. There's no negative ramifications for that whatsoever. And like, is that what your life is like? All the rest of us who, are getting is social Darwinism that prevents truly expressive artists from, doing their thing and making a living off of it and doing it to the nth degree so that they can, sort of examine all the various different potentials of high levels of creativity. Or, people are getting bombed out all throughout the Middle East on the reg, because we have to support all these defense contractors and stuff so that they can make a living 24/7, even when the military can't afford to buy high-performance delivery vectors for child melting. Like, how do you think that, Northrop survives in between purchases of planes for the American military? They have to keep going. The American military has to keep them busy so that they don't have to mothball all these people and all their expert manufacturing people just go off to find other jobs elsewhere. They have to keep them all working in between purchases for the American military so that they have to have, in order for it to work, they have to have sales of arms throughout the world on an ongoing basis in order for the Northrop Grumman people to be all in place in all their factories, all up and running at full capacity whenever we need to order F-35s or whatever. I mean, that's why why these things happen the way they happen. Every 25 years, you have after World War II, you had to have Vietnam. 25 years later, you had to have 25 years after that, you had to have the Iraq War. 25 years after that, you have to have the Iran War. Because every so often you need to, retool the major league armament categories to accommodate the ongoing growth and development of situations throughout the world. Iraq War was to build up the anti-insurgency weaponry and counterinsurgency weaponry and drones, basic drones and stuff like that. World War II, Vietnam, they started to use helicopters and chemical defoliants and stuff like that so that they can't afford that. Even with the $1 trillion annual budget, they can't afford to do all these massive expansions of various categories within the end of the Cold War. They stuck with tens of thousands of tanks that were no longer necessary. Nobody was going to fight any big old land war anymore. So they had to get rid of all that, and that's why they fought the Iraq War, was so that they could retool the military on a widespread level and not have to dip into their $1 trillion a year budget. And those are the people who lead our world. Another part of the Iraq War was just to have it being a giant, like arms dealer convention, where everything is being beta tested live, demonstrated. They've instead of having a demo of Patriot missile battery firing off, they could show them in the Iraq War. People are like, "Oh my God, give me a dozen of those. I'm going to need a dozen of those right now. God damn it!" And that's what's going on in Iran right now. Now they want to step up the drone capabilities and rocket capabilities and all that type of thing. And of course, I think that they're going to be bringing on the cybernetic AI robot automatons with robot boots on the ground. And again, it's sort of like an arms dealership show. It's like showing off their new weaponry and stuff like that. And it's seemingly going very poorly. The stewardship that they gave over, they got rid of early Trump 2.0, got rid of a lot of people in the NSC, which is the usual group of malefactors who are in control of all of this stuff. Oh my God. Good night.